Muy bien, ok, vamos a empezar a grabar. Yeah, the air conditioning woes of the season are upon us, so but we should be able to have class. Boy, if we cut out because of this, then it's something bad. Okay. Vamos a practicar. Bueno, hoy vamos a practicar me, te, no sé. We're going to do that practice. So where does all this stuff go? So I'm going to show you the little snippet, the little file that you will need, because some of you may need to look for it on your computer, or maybe you printed it, or look at say, oh, you know, actually we'll put it up on screen too, but that is the page you will need in a couple of minutes. So we're going to practice quite a lot where these pronouns go. And by the way, all object pronouns, all of them, whether they are reflexive or direct objects, meaning I have it, or I'm calling her. Yeah, those are direct. Or indirect, like I'm giving him a check. Yeah, I will be. Voy a darle un cheque muy grande. Yeah. No matter if the object is indirect or direct or reflexive, all pronouns will follow these same rules that you see today with the reflexive pronouns that we'll specifically be practicing. So we're going to practice placement of reflexive pronouns, and then we're going to start to get into a bit when se is not reflexive, because sometimes it's not. And actually, this is a very, very common thing that you hear a lot when people talk about people, places, things in a super general fashion. So we'll get to that in a little bit, because sometimes se is not what you expect it to be. Okay. Lo que vamos a hacer, what we're going to take a look at, is where these pronouns go, and we're going to do a quick review of where these pronouns go. Un momentito. Aquí. Bien. Okay. Vale. Okay. Position of these reflexive pronouns, or any object pronoun for that matter. So usually our pronoun, if it is not the subject pronouns, mind you, subject pronouns tell you who does an action. This tells you who receives an action. So usually these pronouns come before a verb. If you have, you know, a plain old sentence that's just talking about a fact, something that is happening, or something that did happen, or something that will happen, it's usually in front of the verb. So with the reflexives in particular, you get me lavo las manos, mi esposo se levanta temprano, nos vamos de la oficina. Okay, but sometimes the me, te, nos, or se may not be in front of the verb. Oh, we're going to see one other situation when for sure it's in front of the verb. Ooh. Bien, do you need me for anything? No. Okay. Vale. Yeah. First incursion in the office. Okay. Also in this same situation, the pronoun will also be in front of the verb. If you have a don't do it, meaning a negative command, why is a command? We have to distinguish. Actually, I'm pretty sure in a lot of languages they do this. Commands in English don't really look very different than a regular verb, but in other languages they do. Commands mean that you are telling somebody, giving an order to specifically do something or not. And in Spanish, commands may be affirmative, meaning, hey, go do it, or no, don't do it. So for a no, don't do it command, a negative command, in other words, we also do the same thing that we do in a plain old sentence, and that is we use a reflexive pronoun before the verb. Now, the form of the verb in the command is going to look like there's a vowel that's wrong in the end, but no se preocupen, don't worry about that. We'll tell you when things are actually commands. So, no te quejes, it's a negative command, don't complain. No se sienten enfrente, don't sit up front. No te enojes, don't get mad. No te lastimes, don't hurt yourself, don't get hurt. So for negative commands and for regular plain old sentences stating a fact, the pronoun comes in front of the verb. But we're going to go to our homework and see what you got right and what maybe you missed is this other kind of stuff too, which is what happens when we don't put it in front of the verb, or what kind of situations, in what kind of situations might you find these little me, te, se, and nos pronouns in a different place? Well, okay, when we have the kind of structures with two verbs combined, okay, you're going to actually have a choice or two possible correct pronoun positions if there are two verbs combined. And what does that mean? That means if I'm combining a conjugated verb with an infinitive, okay, meaning in the two verbs, verb number one is a verb like querer, poder, you know, something like that. Verb plus infinitive. When you say you want to do something, you can do something. Okay. You're going to do something. That's the two verb thing. One verb conjugated, second one an infinitive. And there are two positions that are both equally used, equally correct for the little pronoun. We can attach them to the end of the infinitive, okay, or we can put them up in the usual place, which means in front of the conjugated verb. So, quiero ducharme, me quiero duchar, they both mean the same thing. You can put the me in either place and it's right, okay. The other two verb kind of combination is when we've got what we call progressive tenses, meaning something is in progress as we speak, okay? The am doing something. I am eating breakfast. I am talking to you guys. And that means we're using estar. It could be some other verbs, but usually it's estar plus a verb that has an ing equivalent. And the ing equivalent is ando or yendo. And again, we're going to have a situation where we can either attach that me, te, nos, or se, but in this case, we'd be attaching it to the ando or yendo, the gerund. Okay. Or again, equally correct, we can put it in front of the conjugated verb. So I have two possible positions for the pronoun when I use a two verbs combination kind of sentence. Okay. And the very last thing we're going to talk about, in an affirmative command, a command where you say, hey, yes, I want you to do that action, whatever it is. Okay. Put that away. Hey, go sit down, put on your shoes. In an affirmative command, you do not get a choice. You must attach the pronoun to the tail end of the command. So they start to look like this. Siéntate, levántense, despiértate, diviértanse. Okay, we don't have a choice with commands, but you need to know if it's an affirmative command like that, or a negative command, in which case we cannot attach it. Okay. So that, in a nutshell, is a little review before we get to the actual homework. Let's see what you got right. Ooh, I'm going to have to make this much bigger so people can read it on screen. A ver, let's see how you did. Okay. My neighbor, and that might be any of those scenarios. Okay. Where would you put the pronoun? So we got little blanks because, yeah, we'll show you where it might possibly be. Where would you use, where would you use the reflexive pronoun? My neighbor complains about the noise in the neighborhood.
Se queja.
Se queja. And it has to be up there. Se queja. Exacto. Se queja. And we'll take this out. Se queja. Gotta be in front of the verb. I don't have a choice here. It's just a statement of fact, what he's actually doing. Mi vecino se queja. Bien. Darse cuenta de, to realize. My husband and I don't realize all those insurance options. We're not aware of what they are.
Nos damos.
Nos damos. Nos damos cuenta. Must be in front of the verb. That cuenta is not a verb. It's part of the whole phrase, but the cuenta part is not a verb. It's just a word that has to be there. Here's a whole chunk. All the words that must hang together to convey that idea of realize, or in this case, it's negative, don't realize. No nos damos cuenta de. No nos damos cuenta de. Okay. Nos has to be in front of damos. We've got just a plain old statement of fact. Okay. What's actually happening. Okay. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot my essay here. Mis nietos. Should be nietos. Mis nietos, my grandkids. Mis nietos, no, and they don't want to get up early.
Levantarse. No quieren levantarse.
No quieren levantarse. Do I have I've got a 2-verb combo here.
Right. Either way.
Either way is going to be good. So it can look like this. No se quieren levantar. Or no quieren levantarse. Son iguales. They're equal. I can tag it on to the end of levantarse. Yes, it does actually get attached to the infinitive levantarse. Or I can put it in front of the first conjugated verb. Both ways are correct. Okay. But we got a double whammy in 4. Are you staying home this weekend or are you leaving?
Quedaste.
We've got quedas. Now, is that a command? No, it's not a command.
No.
It's just asking a question.
Te das.
No, so te quedas.
Te
Te
quedas.
quedas. Te quedas. Te quedas. Sí, se queda. Oh, it kicked me out of my Spanish keyboard. Okay. Te quedas en casa. Are you staying home? O
Te vas.
te vas. Te quedas o te vas? Are you staying or are you leaving? Te quedas o te vas? Okay. Again, a plain old question is a plain old sentence. It's just in a question form. The te has to be in front of the verb in both of those cases, okay? I don't have a double 2 verbs walking together kind of situation like I had in numero 3. It's not like the number 3 example at all, because we do have 2 verbs, but they're 2 separate actions, right? Quedas and vas. Okay. Ahora, en 5. Estoy lavando. La cara. La cara.
Para quitarme.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Para quitar. But quitar is by itself there. If I have an infinitive by itself, I've got to do this. I have to attach that. I don't have a choice. I have to attach that. Okay. But what about this one up here? Estoy lavando. I've got two verbs walking together. So I can do
Either.
either. So what's it going to sound like?
Me
estoy
estoy.
lavando.
Estoy lavando.
Me estoy lavando la cara o estoy lavándome la cara. Now, don't worry about this accent mark situation at this point. It's a written thing. It doesn't really matter to you speaking. Just know that lavando always sounds like lavando, right? I'm just tagging the me on the end. Lavándome. Lavándome. Okay. Okay. Estoy lavándome la cara. Me estoy lavando la cara. Iguales, because I've got the two verbs walking together. Vale, magnifico. A command. Los niños, you're telling your grandkids, go to
Hey, Mar-
bed.
Marilyn, can you go? I'm sorry, I missed the part about the quitarme. Quitarme. Why does that
Oh,
one?
this one.
Yeah.
Oh, look what I've got there. I've got a verb, but it's quitar. Gracias por tu pregunta. Thanks for your question on that. I've just got para quitar in order to take off. Oh, crema solar, sunscreen. Yeah, there are a lot of words for sunscreen. Crema solar is one. Para quitarme. Wow, it's not conjugated because it means in order to take off. Okay. It doesn't say I'm taking off. I mean, it's implying that, but para with quitar. When I have a word like para, which is a preposition, a verb form that goes right next to, immediately after a preposition has to stay in the infinitive form. So that's why it's para quitar. But when I've got an infinitive, I can only tag it onto the end. That's all I can do. Yeah. Let me give you another example. This won't be a reflexive example, but it's still a pronoun example. Estoy aquí para enseñarles. I'm here to teach you guys. To teach you guys. Para enseñarles. I have to attach a pronoun if I've got a pronoun to an infinitive. An infinitive that is not conjugated, we have to tag it onto the end. It has to be the little caboose. Does that answer your question? See? Okay. You'll hear other examples as we go along. Okay. Seis, command. You're telling those kids, go to bed. It's an affirmative command. It's not a fact. They're not actually going to bed. That's why.
Acuéstense. Acuéstente.
Acuéstense. Acuéstense. Oop. Acuéstense. Go to bed. Affirmative commands, I don't get a choice. I have to tag it onto the end. Acuéstense. Acuéstense. Get to bed, you kids. Okay. Siete. Ooh, I've got a two verbs walking together kind of thing. You're going to take a shower.
Te vas.
Vas a ducharte.
Te vas.
Yeah,
Te
hay
vas a
dos
duchar.
posibilidades.
Te
Yeah.
vas.
Bien, bien, bien.
Te
Te
vas.
vas a duchar, te vas a duchar después de hacer ejercicio, or I can express it as
Vas a
vas a
ducharte.
ducharte. And there it'll be a te, not a se, right? Because it's vas. Are you going? Yeah. That's why it's not a se. It's not a
Ah.
se because you're talking to somebody on a familiar level. Te vas a duchar, vas a ducharte. Okay. Bien, 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 bien. Okay. A ver. Oh, it's a command. Telling the kids, don't walk outside barefoot is what you're basically telling them, but you're telling them in an affirmative way. Put on your sandals.
Póngase.
Pónganse.
Pónganse. Póngase.
Pónganse. Pónganse las sandalias. Pónganse las sandalias. Pónganse los zapatos. Pónganse el sombrero. Put on your whatever it is, right?
Chaquete.
Sí. Pónganse los
Los
lentes de
pantalones.
sol. Sí, sí, pónganse los pantalones. Put on your pants. Yeah. Guys, sí. Pónganse. And again, don't worry about that accent mark. That accent mark is just saying, although the only job that accent mark says is, ooh, I'm tagging on an extra syllable. Oh, I need to keep the emphasis on that same thing. Pongan always has to sound like pongan. It never wants to become pongan. No, it always wants to sound like pongan. So to do that, they add a written accent mark. It doesn't matter for you speaking, but it matters for the writing. Pónganse, put it on. Pónganse. Okay. Now we've got a command. Uh-oh, it's a no command. It's a no command. So that means it's a negative command.
No te enojes.
Don't get mad at your little brother. No, see, I don't get a choice here. No te
Te
enojes.
enojes.
No te enojes. And this is something you hear people say a lot, you know. They perceive that you're angry about something. They say, hey, don't get mad. No te enojes. No te enojes. Don't get mad. But I must put it in front of the verb because it's a negative command. Negative commands, the pronoun must be in front of the verb. No choice about doing a flip-flop. Affirmative commands, pronouns have to be tagged on. Don't get a choice. Okay. Bien. My kid is sitting with his buds. His buddies. I've got two verbs walking together. I've got a
Either way.
choice here. Mi hijo se está, perdón, se está sentando, or equally correct. Mi hijo está sentándose. Está sentándose. Se está sentando. Two places for that se word are okay because I have the two verbs walking together. Okay. Oh, I got two verbs walking together again here, but it's verb plus infinitive, verb plus infinitive. The employees can wash their hands here. The employees can wash. Pueden lavar. Pueden lavar.
Pueden lavarse o se pueden lavar.
Sí, se pueden lavar. Correcto. Or
Pueden lavarse.
yeah, or se pueden lavarse las manos. And notice with a body part, it's always las manos, not sus
se
manos.
pueden,
Se
okay.
pueden lavarse las manos. Se pueden lavar. Se pueden lavar, perdón. I'm sorry, I'm confusing you here.
It's double. Yeah.
Pueden lavarse.
Yeah.
There we go. Es mejor. Pueden lavarse o se pueden lavar, sí, dos posiciones. Okay. Two verbs walking together. Voy a sentar. I'm going to sit. I'm going to sit down.
Me voy a sentar.
Me voy a sentar.
Sentarme.
Voy a sentarme.
Sentarme.
Exacto. Me voy a sentar. equally okay to say voy a sentarme. Voy a sentarme. Sí, igual. Okay. A ver. Wow, we can't sleep. We can't, oh, not just we can't sleep, we can't fall asleep. Dormirse es fall asleep as opposed to just sleep. Y hablamos de nosotros. We're talking about us. Oh, we've got a two verb walking together kind of thing here.
Mhm.
So we can say that as no
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 nos,
podemos
no nos
podemos
dormirnos.
dormir.
also okay to say that as
O no
No
podemos
podemos dormirnos.
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 No podemos dormirnos. Okay, so I've got two possible things here. Ooh, I've got two verbs walking together again. I've got the ing thing going on. Ooh, and I've got
An
a,
infinitive verb.
I've got this maquillar, to put makeup on. Okay, and we're talking about the woman. So here's the easy part. Para maquillar is just that prepositional
makeup.
phrase. So it's got to be
Sí.
Maquillarse.
maquillarse. Maquillarse. No choice there. It's a plain old infinitive by itself, by its lonesome, hanging out after that word para. So para maquillarse is in order to put on makeup, okay? The woman is looking at herself. She's looking at herself in the mirror to put on makeup. Para maquillarse is what it has to be. That has to be the little caboose on the end of the train there, maquillarse. But what happens to this está mirando? Se está mirando.
Se está mirando.
Está mirando, correcto. Or equally correct.
Está mirándose.
Está
Está
mirándose.
mirándose. Está mirándose. Los dos son correctos. Those, right? I have a choice. Se está mirando, está mirándose, because I've got the two verb working together things. So I have a choice. And now we've got a command. Oh, and it's a command that's a negative command. Don't go away. Don't take off. Don't leave.
No vayaste.
A
No,
negative
vaya.
command. I don't have a command, a choice of where I can
No.
put the pronoun here. No
No
te
te vayas.
vayas. No te vayas. Don't leave. No te vayas. Don't
You can say
leave.
no vayaste as well, right?
No.
No,
No.
it's a command.
No te vayas. It has to be no te vayas. No te vayas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is a command. It's a negative command. It's saying don't go, don't leave. No te vayas. A negative command. The pronoun must be up front. Must be up front. I don't have a choice. Negative commands, it comes in front of the verb. And now we've got we have a command too. This is something you hear people say all the time. A lot. Take care. Take care of yourself.
Cuídense.
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 Cuídense. Cuídense. Take care. Cuidarse is to take care of yourself. Yeah. Cuídense. Cuídense. Take care of yourself. Cuídense. If this were to one person and you made it a tú command, it would sound like this.
Cuídate.
Cuídate.
And cuídate.
Cuídate, cuídate. Cuídate is if you're only talking to one person. Cuídate, take care. Okay. You hear this when people say goodbye to each other, as people and especialmente in Mexico, especially in Mexico, you never say goodbye and then just turn and leave. It's always bye, see you later, take care. Yeah, they're like three. You have to say goodbye at least 3 times, 3 different ways to seriously to sound polite, because that's what they do. Yeah.
Marilyn, why wouldn't that be cuidaste?
Ah, okay. Let me show you wow, yeah. This is something we'll probably talk about a little bit in the fall, but not just yet. Commands for tú are a nasty little animal.
We don't have to do it now if you don't want to. It's okay.
Bien, just so you see what it looks like. Okay. Commands for tú are odd. Commands for usted do the same thing all the time. Commands for ustedes, you guys, always do the same thing. So they're uniform and easy. Okay. Commands for tú are odd because the verb will do something very easy for an affirmative command. So you say, hey, drive on. Walk. Look. Those are affirmative commands. So here are commands for tú. Affirmative commands take a very easy part. They get rid of the S. They get rid of the S off the tú. Wow. Couldn't be very much easier, could it? So yeah. Camina, walk. Maneja, drive. See? Mira, look. Yeah. But, oh, let's put an ER or an IR one in there because we've got all AR verbs there. Actually, I'm going to put in a more common one. Listen, escucha.
Escucha.
Camina, yeah, walk, listen, look, yeah, mira. Okay. And eat, come,
Ken.
eat, come, eat. Okay. So affirmative commands just take off the S. Wow. It couldn't be any easier. But negative tú commands change the verb around. But only when it's tú. So it becomes no camines allá, don't walk there. No camines por allá, don't walk over there. No camines. It becomes no escuches. It becomes no mires. It
No
becomes no comas.
Comas.
Negative
Oh,
two
gosh.
commands bring the S back, but they don't use the vowel that looks right. They use the opposite vowel. So ER verbs like comer use the S comes back, but the vowel isn't comes, it's comas. No comas, don't eat. No lo comas, don't eat it. No lo comas. Yeah. No lo mires, don't look at it. No lo mires, okay? No escuches, don't listen. Oh, that guy is cussing up a storm. No escuches, don't listen to him, yeah? Or don't listen to her. No camines, no camines. Negative commands do opposite vowel and the S comes back. It's hard to remember. Bien, that's in the nutshell. See, Nora? Because of course it couldn't be easy. You know, what do we do? Say, yeah, walk, run. Oh, don't run. Run is always the same. Yeah. Run, don't run. Eat, don't eat. Drink, don't drink. Breathe. Yeah, nobody's going to say don't breathe. Oh, they might. Okay. Bien. Yeah. Commands are an oddball thing. We'll probably take a look at that a little bit in the fall. Durante el otoño. Okay, bien. Bueno, hay otra pregunta. Any other kind of a question?
Marilyn, I don't know if other people feel the same way, but I wonder if we could have some more practice for homework on placement of pronouns.
Sure, we could. Just on the reflexives?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sí. Sí se puede. Yes, you can. We can do that. I'll send out an extra thing. You know, take me a little bit to write something up, but you know, I'll have it ready in your email. Okay. Bien. Bien. Vale. Bueno. Otra pregunta. If you have another question about where pronouns go, please do ask it. It is okay to ask. And
Could you,
again, it
Marilyn,
won't not automatic, but you know, it'll come with time. See, Mark.
Marilyn, would you mind spending the extra minute or two on your end of adding the rule to this handout that, you know, that you were just walking us through, but adding the rule about that the pronoun always must come after an infinitive verb?
Oh, okay. Sí, bien. Ejemplos. You want some examples?
Well, I mean, there were a couple of examples that were in the you know, the practice we just went through, but maybe I missed it. But
Well,
I
You
didn't
missed
quite
it.
realize, I didn't realize that you had to put the pronoun after the infinitive, but I can see where that makes sense. But just in terms of kind of having it all in one handout,
Yeah,
that little rule
I'll
of
put them
thumb
on the
was,
same one. As a matter of fact,
okay.
let's take a quick look right now so that you see some examples. This is something that happens quite a lot, actually, because quite often we use these little things called prepositions. Oh, gosh. These are things you haven't talked about since, you know, 4th grade, probably, right? After a preposition, and this is going to be a blanket 100% rule, by the way, a blanket rule in the Spanish language. Okay. After a preposition. Oh, and I'm going to actually change the phrasing of this a little bit. When a verb comes right after, that means right next to a preposition, that verb must always be in its infinitive form. Okay, so let's start with that, because that's actually a little piece that's good to know before you even get to the pronoun thing. Okay, so first of all, what the heck is a preposition? A preposition is an itty bitty word that doesn't have a whole lot of meaning, but everybody knows what they mean. So they're words like en, para. Para means many things, but it might be for, in order to. And that's actually that's the ding, ding, ding magic one for para in this sense, in order to. Para. De. Okay. And these are probably like the most common prepositions. En, para, de. And I would say, well, you're going to see them all. You won't see en as much in these examples, but you'll see para, and de a lot. Anytime a verb follows one of those prepositions, when it's right next to it, it's got to be in the infinitive form. Okay. And that's why you have things like vamos a empezar.
Okay.
Yeah, vamos a empezar. Empezar is after it's right next to vamos a, we're going to begin. Estamos aquí, we're here para practicar. We're here to practice. We're here in order to practice. Okay. Okay. Comemos para mantener la salud. We eat to maintain our health. Yeah. Para practicar, para mantener. I need to have an infinitive. Después, I'm going to put in caps. Después de estudiar, vamos a descansar. After studying, we're going to rest. Después de estudiar, because we've got that little word de in there and a verb right immediately after the preposition de, that must be an infinitive. So if I have a situation like this, a verb after a verb after para, a verb after de, and if it needs a little pronoun, it's going to have to tag on to the end. Okay. Entonces, por ejemplo, for example, and you're going to see this more with para or de. Después de levantarte. Después de levantarte, after getting up, después de levantarte, tienes que ir al baño. After getting up, you gotta go to John. Después de levantarte, tienes que ir al baño. We've got a little verb after de, which is a preposition. And because it's a reflexive and it's not conjugated, I'm going to have to make it the little caboose on the end of the train. Después de levantarte. After getting up. After getting up. Ooh, let's look at the opposite of after. Let's look at before. Antes de vestirte, tienes que ducharte. Antes de vestirte, before, we've got antes de. Yeah, I have to use that word de. That's a preposition. So antes de vestirte, tienes que ducharte, right? I don't have a choice with where the pronoun goes here because I've got a whole prepositional phrase. So anytime a verb is immediately following a preposition like that, it will go into the infinitive. And when we have an infinitive and it's a reflexive, I've got to have that pronoun tagged on to the end. But it will always tag on to the end because it's now part of a prepositional phrase. Does that help you, Mark?
Yes.
Okay, bien. I will throw some examples of that into the extra practice. Bien? See? Yeah. So these kind of things, I will even say this, with the exception of that word these little words here, para and de, are probably the ones you're going to see or hear the most. And you might have it might be any preposition, of course, but yeah, para and de are very common. And notice that de is part of a little phrase. Después de, after. Those two words have to combine to make that phrase after. Después de. And the little phrase for before is antes de. Those two little words have to come together to make a little chunk to mean before. So the before and the after use those phrases use that preposition de. Antes de, before, and después de, after. Yeah. So because they use de, a little preposition, that rule kicks in for, oh, got a verb right next to that preposition. Just plain old infinitive, plain old infinitive. But now I've got a reflexive, so I have to tag on the extra little pronoun. Bien? Okay. A ver. Okay. Otra pregunta. Any other question about that? I need to send you extra practice, and we needed that. Mark, I'm going to tag it on to our little set of rules. I'll tag it on to the practice, so you'll see it all there.
Okay.
Yeah, all in one place is good. All in one place is good. Okay. Otra pregunta o no? No hay otra pregunta. No hay ninguna pregunta. No question? No? Okay.
No.
These little reflexives, you know, there is no way for me to give you, here's a list of all the reflexive verbs. Oh my God, that's not going to happen because of on and on and on, pages and pages, and it would become very frustrating. So you have to kind of take it on faith that as you hear them, you'll realize, oh, here's a reflexive, here's a, oh, and just accept, oh, this verb is reflexive because they're using the pronoun with it. So, you know, how you'll get used to it is hearing it more and more in stories. You're going to get an extra story as homework to listen to listen for a couple of new reflexives there. Okay. A ver. I do want to talk today a little bit about when se is not actually reflexive. Se, unfortunately, has a bunch of meanings, and unfortunately, it's used a lot. And so sometimes you're caught kind of, you know, sitting there like it just smacks you in the face of, oh, and you think something's reflexive, and then you think, oh, that doesn't make sense. Why are they using se? Se has a bunch of different meanings, and we're going to take a look at a very common use of se. It is called the se impersonal. Yeah, the se impersonal, the impersonal se, the non-personal se. We never knew that se could be personal, but it is, or it is not. Se impersonal merely means that we're going to use se paired up with a verb of some sort, and it will be directed at everybody in general. And in that case, it won't be reflexive really at all. Sometimes se is used in front of a verb to make it so that this action, this activity is talking about what everybody does. So in other words, oh, a way that we have of saying that in English is you. You don't cross the street in the middle of the block. You don't turn left at that corner. It's a no left turn. Yeah. Oh, you don't say that. And when we use you in that way, you can be very confusing in English for somebody you learn English. You know, you can be very personally, you know, I am looking right at you. You can be a specific person, and you can be anybody at all. Yeah.
This kind of sounds like one.
One,
Anyone.
exacto. Okay, so another way we have of saying that in English is one. One does not cross the road in the middle of the street. One does not eat peas with a knife. One does not drink beer out of the bottle here. But how does that sound to you if you heard somebody just saying that off the cuff? Well, one does not cross the street in the middle. Does that sound sort of stilted? Like super formal? Like weird? Like maybe No offense to any British people. You're talking to some Brit. Yeah. One does not do that. It sounds kind of stiff upper lip and very formal. It's perfectly good English, perfectly proper English, but we don't conversationally use that. But yes, it is that idea of one does something or one does not do something. And that means we're talking about anybody in general. And that is exactly what this se does. It does mean that. One does something or one does not do something. But we have a variety of ways of expressing that in English. Okay, we may express that as you instead of one. So I had given you a little preliminary video to see here. Oh, and it just focused on two verbs, right? And I'm zinged all the way to the end to remind you of kind of the wrap up here. They only used two verbs, either se permite or se prohíbe, yeah, to talk about what's allowed or what's forbidden. Yeah, se permite or se prohíbe, right? Meaning it is permitted or it is prohibited. It is forbidden. One could say, okay. And these kind of forms are what we call the impersonal se. We're going to check that out a little bit more so you get lots of examples. And I'm going to want you to practice that a little bit once we see lots of examples. Okay. And notice that there are two forms. It'll either be third, but it's always third person. Okay. This is never expressed as a yo.
Okay.
It is never expressed as a nosotros. It is never expressed as a tú thing. Okay. So the verb is always in an él, ella, usted, third person singular, or ellos, ellas, ustedes, plural. Okay. Se permite or se permiten. Se prohíbe or se prohíben. Okay. Se permite is used when the thing you're talking about is an action, a verb, an infinitive, or when it's a singular thing. Okay. Se permite beber. Drinking is allowed. See? Se permite el alcohol. Alcohol is permitted. Okay. But se permiten, se permiten, wow, kind of es difícil en plural, because usually this is used with actions. Se permiten mascotas, pets allowed. Se permiten mascotas, pets, por ejemplo. Pets are allowed, okay? Se permiten mascotas. You know, you might see it on a sign. So you often see these on signs to tell you what you can do, what you can't do in a public place, okay? And of course, we can make them negative as well. Okay. This is the se impersonal, but we're going to get some more conversational uses in a minute here. So these are pretty easy to use, but they are not reflexive. It is a different way of using that se. So we're going to check out some other examples, and he's going to also tell you, like, well, if somebody said this in English, this is probably the way they would say it. There might be more than one way to say it. So we're going to watch a different video, but it's going to use more than the two verbs you saw. You saw the verbs, se permite and se prohíbe for allowed and forbidden, okay? But this se is used with a lot of different verbs. So, okay, aquí. Pueden verlo. Can you see him here? Okay, a ver.
Vamos a hablar acerca del se impersonal. A while back, while I was visiting Mexico, a little boy was eating some chips. In the chips, there was this little piece of cardboard with grooves to build things with. And he saw that and told me, esto no se come, ¿verdad? Interesting. If you remember the videos on se permite and se prohíbe for talking about things that are allowed or unallowed, se permite means it's allowed, and se prohíbe means it's prohibited or it's not allowed. So maybe no se come here is like saying it isn't eaten. In fact, you could also say one doesn't eat this piece of cardboard. What do these mean exactly? I guess in English we might say instead, you don't eat this cardboard, or I shouldn't eat this cardboard. It gives the idea of, it's probably not a good idea to eat this. The se before come makes this a usage that we call the impersonal se, or passive se. We actually have seen this before without realizing it in the videos that I've mentioned with se permite and se prohíbe. But if we go even further back to one of the first videos in the entire series on the alphabet, we saw the phrases, ¿Cómo se dice? And the answer, se dice. And really what we're asking is, how is it said? It's said. And we also saw, ¿Cómo se escribe? And the answer, se escribe. How is it written? It's written. We call this the impersonal se or passive se because it's often used instead of naming a specific person doing the action. Let's look at some more examples. Se habla español. The literal translations here are Spanish is spoken, or one speaks Spanish if you realize that se is kind of an is something or one does the action. What do you think that actually means? We speak Spanish, we speak American, or we need Spanish. It means in that place, wherever that is, we speak Spanish. So the people speak Spanish to those that need it as a service. How about here? Se vende pollo. The literal translations would be chicken is sold, or one sells chicken. ¿Qué quiere decir? What does it mean? Everyone sells chicken here, we sell chickens here, or I am selling one chicken. The best one would be we sell chickens here. Although chicken is used singularly here, it's the idea of in general chicken as a food. So the person, whoever that is, sells chicken. Uno más. Se venden tortas. The literal translations here, if you know that tortas are a type of sandwich in Mexico, sandwiches are sold, or one sells sandwiches. ¿Qué quiere decir? Whether we sell sandwiches, everyone sells sandwiches, or we eat sandwiches. Here the people advertising are saying, we sell sandwiches. These all have a se before the verb. Let's look again. Se habla español, se vende pollo, y se venden tortas. Notice that we say se venden because there's more than one thing being sold. So that's basically the impersonal or passive se. The way we form it is we take se plus the he, she form of the verb or the they form of the verb. Okay, let's look at some other examples. Some people teach that the impersonal se is often used instead of the to form, which is what we call the impersonal se. We're not really saying you do it, but we're giving the idea of people do it, so we're kind of encouraging you to do it. For example, when a little boy told me, esto no se come, he was saying, you don't eat this, like don't eat this, or I don't eat this. But it could be telling me as well, hey, don't eat that, in a very impersonal way. Also, we could see this in the phrase, si se puede. And here, hacer is kind of implied, so you're saying, yes, it can be done. That is, yes, you can do it. But we're not saying it in the you form, the to form, or the usted form. The really common one you might hear from parents to their kids is, eso no se hace. Literally, that is not done. But it's telling the kids, don't do that, don't do that. No, not here, not here. And you might hear somebody say at some point, if you're dancing like me very badly, you might hear them say, así no se baila, which would be like saying, that's not how it is danced. That's not how one dances. But they're telling, that's not how you should dance. And so we're giving this idea of you, but without really saying you. And we're not making it personal, but we're making it impersonal, thus impersonal say. And to summarize again, the uses of the impersonal say or passive say, we use it when one does something, as a person does something in general, you do something, we do something, and or something is done, or some things are done. Well, it's basically the impersonal say or the passive say in Spanish. Hopefully you found this video helpful.
Okay, bien. And that is it. Eso es. You may ask, why is that so important especialmente in Mexico, especially in Mexico, I would say, but really in all the Hispanic speaking world, this idea of expressing an idea of one does something never puts the burden on you as an individual. Okay, so it's always seen as more polite and kind of saying something as a command, like don't do that, is always seen as kind of in your face and really blunt, almost kind of edgy. Yeah. But if you say it as, well, one just does not do that, it softens, it gives a command without making it a command. It softens it a lot. And this is a very popular thing to do in Spanish. Muy popular. Y vamos a practicar. We're going to practice some of this. Uy, ¿dónde está? Where did my examples go? Aquí. Here they go. Okay. So this is called the se impersonal. Again, because I'm not putting it on you. I am making it like a general one. Well, everybody does it. So hopefully you follow along. It's that kind of idea. I'm going to have you guys practice some of this, and it's going to be very free form. But before I show you the screen, I want to, tell you that when two of the most common things you hear in Spanish are those ideas he put forth in the video of something that you see on a sign in a store shop, se habla español, and that's the impersonal se. Se habla español, Spanish is spoken. Se habla inglés, English is spoken, okay? And again, it's like a fake passive tense. Spanish is spoken. One speaks Spanish here. Se habla español. Okay, Spanish is spoken. That's what we call a passive voice. So se is kind of a passive voice here. Or, ¿cómo se dice? ¿Cómo se dice? How does one say? How do you say? But it's not you, the personal you. How does anybody say this? How does one say? ¿Cómo se dice? ¿Cómo se dice? And dice is singular. It's the form of el a usted. Dice, speaks, right? Says, tells. ¿Cómo se dice? How does one write? ¿Cómo se escribe? How do you write that? ¿Cómo se escribe? Okay, so those are the really common ways that people first see this, and you don't realize at that point that's what it is, but it is. So let's take a look at the same personal, and you're going to get some picture prompts to practice with in smaller groups, and then we'll come back with whatever ideas you might have. So the se impersonal, it means that you do something, or one does something, or, we could just say they do something, meaning everybody in general. So it's also kind of a way of using a passive voice in English, meaning something is done. Yeah. Instead of saying the soldiers killed the other soldiers, that's very active. the soldiers were killed by the enemy. That's passive. So that's passive voice. Okay. But how do we use it? The important thing, lo más importante es saber cómo se usa. We don't care so much, the grammar is behind it. We do care that you can actually use it to express an idea. Se tercera persona singular o se con tercera persona plural. Okay, so se habla español, Spanish is spoken. Se venden hamburguesas en Burger King. They sell hamburgers. Really general. Yeah. Okay. In passive voice, we would say hamburgers are sold at Burger King, right? Who's selling them? We don't really know. Hamburgers are sold. That's what we call passive voice. They are sold. The hamburgers aren't selling anything. They are being sold. Se venden hamburguesas. And there it's got to be se venden plural. It's got to be plural because we're talking about hamburguesas, burgers, more than one, a whole bunch of them. Se venden hamburguesas en Burger King. Se dice lata para can or tin en español. You say lata for can. A can that veggies come in or a can that fruit comes in, okay? A tin can. Se dice lata para can, tin en español. Se usa una cuchara para comer la sopa. You use a spoon to eat soup. You use a spoon. A spoon is one thing. Se usa una cuchara. Se usa una cuchara. See? That whole phrase that was used a lot in political or protest, political speeches or protests of some sort. Si se puede, yes, you can. Yes, one can. And you had in your video, se prohíbe, it is forbidden, or in other words, you can't. The opposite of that. Se hacen vinos muy finos en Francia. This is, this is a kind of a passive voice thing. It's a fuzzy they. Who are the they? We don't know, just people. Yeah. They make very fine wines in France, or we might make that passive voice in English and say, fine wines are made in France. So there are two ways we can say that in English. Oh, they make really good wine there. Or, oh, fine wines are made. There are two things we can do. The fine wines are made is what we call a passive voice kind of structure. Okay. But both of those ideas in English are expressed the exact same way in Spanish, and that's doing this. Se hacen vinos muy finos en Francia. Se hacen needs to be plural with an N at the end because we're talking about vinos, more than one kind of wine. So when vinos is plural, when it's plural, that becomes a plural thing. Okay. Okay. And we can also use this kind of structure with a verb. Okay, with a verb. So here we go. Any kind of verb, any kind of verb. Here's what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to do in your little small groups to see if you can come up with some ideas. ¿Qué se hace en? What do you do in or at? Lugar, a place. Yeah. And you've got 6 places listed. ¿Qué se hace? What does one do? What do you do? What do they do? What does anybody in general do? Okay. What does one do? ¿Qué se hace en la cocina? What do you do in the kitchen? ¿Qué se hace en la biblioteca? What do you do in the library? ¿Qué se hace en el cine? What do you do in a movie theater? ¿Qué se hace en la piscina? What do you do in at a pool area, right? ¿Qué se hace en la oficina? What do you do in an office setting? ¿Qué se hace cuando hace cola? What do you do when you're standing in line? Que se hace cuando hace cola? Literally, that says, what do you do when you make a tail at a cafe? But instead of making a tail, we stand in line. So, hace cola is stand in line. Que se hace cuando hace cola en un café. So, you may want to talk about that as se with a verb, se hace. You might want to make it a negative, no se hace, right? You might make it a one does not do something. So it can be a you do this at this place, or maybe you want to make it as a ooh, you don't do this at that in that place. It's verboten, to borrow a different language. You may also want to use it as a ooh, you may also use the se to talk about what one uses. Que se usa allí? What do you use there? So there are a whole bunch of different things we can use with impersonal se to practice this concept a little bit. Make sense? I want you to get into smaller groups and talk about some ideas. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes, 5 minutos, and then we'll come back, see what ideas you came up with. There'll probably be some things I haven't even thought of. And you can ask some questions. I do want to see if you have any questions before you go out there. No? Okay, so remember, there are going to be no yo forms, no nosotros forms, and no tú forms. So, yeah, that makes it kind of easy. Uy, a ver. I think I want to have you in groups of about 3 people in general, en general, so that you can chit chat and oh, and you will see the pictures when you go into your Zoom rooms. Okay, a ver. A practicar. You can hit your join button, then I can send your pictures into the Zoom rooms. Okay. A ver. Got folks coming back. Muy bien. ¿Fue fácil o difícil? Was it easy or hard?
I think what was hard for me is using the proper form of the, like there's no se dice, en la biblioteca. I was having a little bit of trouble using the right form of the verb.
Okay. Okay. Vamos a ver. We'll see. Okay. Give me your specific question there, Mary. And I'll put the screen up so everybody
Yeah,
can
if the
see
screen's
what it
back on.
looks
I
like.
can- I can-
That helps a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Ayuda mucho. That helps a lot. Okay. Aquí.
Okay, so for the kitchen,
Ajá.
so say limpia. That's what I'm having the problem with.
Se
So-
limpia.
Yeah.
Sí, se limpia en la
So it's
cocina.
limpia, okay, so what
We
about
clean in the kitchen.
so what about in the library? No say habla?
Hablan.
No
Habla.
se, no se habla.
Mm.
Mejor, even better, aún mejor, even better. No se habla en voz alta. En voz alta. No se.
Okay.
You don't talk
Okay.
in a loud voice.
So I
no
am
se
using
habla.
it, so I was using it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
No se habla en la. Sí, sí, sí. Okay. Ejemplos, examples, guys. And when I've got the share on, I can't see all of you. So if you raise your hand, I'm not ignoring you. I just can't see you. Algunos ejemplos, some examples. En la cocina, en la cocina. Besides se limpia, one cleans.
Se cocina las comidas.
Se comina la comida. Muy bien, sí.
Se toma café.
Sí, se toma café. You have a coffee in your kitchen? Sí.
No sé dormir en la cocina.
No se duerme.
Duerme.
Oh,
No
yeah,
se duerme. No
Se
se duerme.
duerme.
Ay, no se duerme en la cocina. Sí, bien.
Ah, ya te
Okay.
duerme.
¿Qué más? What
Ah,
else?
Se lave los platos. En
Se
la
lava. Sí. Se lava los platos. Sí, se lavan los platos. Dishes are washed. So that's a platos, more than one. So we really need to say lavan. Se lavan los platos. Se lavan los
Lavan.
platos. Sí. Yeah, you
sí.
wash dishes in the kitchen.
Sí.
Sí. Bueno, ¿qué más? Nada. Ok, biblioteca. No se habla en voz alta en la biblioteca. Perdón.
Lee.
Sí. Se lee. One reads.
Lee.
Sí. ¿Qué más?
So what is the borrow? I look it up. So I say like se toma prestado.
That makes it too hard. We're going to make it easier.
Okay.
Se
Borrow
prestan.
some book.
We're going to make it easier. Se prestan libros.
Okay.
Books are loaned out. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
There is not a good word for borrow in Spanish, but there is a word they use, which is loaned out. Yeah. Prestar. 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 Se prestan libros. Books are loaned out. Bien.
Okay.
Clase. ¿Se copian documentos en la biblioteca? ¿Se copian documentos? A veces, sometimes. Sí, ok. Clase, ¿se estudia en la biblioteca?
Okay.
Se estudia. And that does not mean to study yourself. It's not reflexive. It's one studies at the library. Se estudia en la biblioteca. Perfecto. Sí, se estudia en la biblioteca. Bien. Bueno, en el cine, algunas ideas, some ideas.
Se mira una película.
Sí, bien. ¿Qué más? What else?
No se usa teléfonos en el cine.
No se usan los teléfonos, los celulares. Sí,
Celulares.
sí, claro.
Say silencio.
Oh,
Mm.
oh, you're quiet. Se calla, se calla.
Kaya.
Kaya. Oh.
One makes
No
oneself quiet. Se calla.
Yes.
Oh,
Kaya.
you know what? If you
No
have
se
and
hablan.
callarse is reflexive by its nature.
Oh.
Yeah. If a reflexive verb, there's nothing extra. You have to use it reflexively. Yeah. There's nothing extra you do to it. It stays reflexive. Yeah. Se calla en el cine. Sí. Perfecto. Perfecto. ¿Qué más?
No
They
se
comen-
masca chicle en
Sí, sí.
el cinema.
See,
Sí.
se come, one eats,
Oh,
and
eats,
you might
okay.
mention, right? What they eat,
Mm.
okay. Bueno, en la piscina, and this is a busy pool. Es una piscina muy ocupada, con mucha gente, llena de gente, full of people. En la
No say
piscina,
correr.
correr.
sí, no se corre. No se corre. You do
No
not
se
run.
corre.
No se corre. And that is just singular. No se corre. One does not run. No se corre.
Se usa la crema sola.
Bien, sí. Se usa la crema solar. Se pone la crema solar. Bien. Se utiliza, pero se usa. Se usa la crema solar. Se pone la crema solar. Perfecto, sí.
No se usa la piscina como el baño.
¡Ay! Oh, quizás. Pero es importante, es importante con los niños, ¿no? Porque a los niños no,
No se
les
usa el
importa.
shampoo.
Sí, a los niños no les importa. Kids don't care. But sí, pero sí es importante. No
prohíbe.
se usa la piscina como un baño, ¿no? Y sí, muy importante. Muchas gracias. Bueno,
Se prohíbe. Se
Ah.
prohíbe.
se prohíbe, se prohíbe orinar, urinate. Se prohíbe orinar en la piscina, sí, eso es. Se prohíbe orinar. Orinar is to urinate in a nice, yeah, it's a nice way of saying urinate, yeah, okay. Bien. Okay, se juega al voleibol en la piscina. Se juega al voleibol a veces, sí. Bien. Ok. En la oficina, ¿qué se hace? What does one do? ¿O qué no se hace?
Se habla en Zoom en la oficina.
Se habla en Zoom, one talks on Zoom. Sí. Bueno, ¿qué más? Hay muchas posibilidades.
Se
¿Deben
habla
mascara usar en la oficina? Mascara. They should wear. They must wear masks.
Sí. Ok.
Se habla en teléfono.
Se habla por teléfono, and a good little chunk for you know is por teléfono.
Por
On the
teléfono.
phone, yeah.
Se habla
I
por
know it
teléfono.
sounds like on the phone, but it's por teléfono. Se habla por teléfono. Sí,
teléfono.
se habla por teléfono. One talks on the phone. Okay. Se ayuda
Se
a
traba.
los clientes.
Se usa en la computadora.
Se usa la computadora, sí, se usa la computadora. Perfecto, muy bien. Ok. Vale, bueno, ¿cuándo hace cola en un café? When you're lined up at a café. Esto es difícil. This one's kind of hard.
Se espera mi café.
Se espera, one waits. Se espera su turno. You wait your turn, ¿sí? Bien. Se espera, one waits. ¿Qué más?
Se hablan con las otras personas?
Sí, se habla con las otras personas. I'm going to give you a shorter way to say las otras personas. A shorter way to say las otras personas is los demás. Los
Oh,
demás.
okay. Yeah.
Demás. And demás is all one word. Demás. Los demás means everybody else.
Oh, it's just like on the homework, right?
Yeah,
The homework. Okay.
Yeah, you talk with
Los
everybody
demás.
else. Se habla con los demás. You talk with everybody else. Perfecto. Sí.
Okay. Se mira la célula.
Se mira el celular. Se mira el celular. You look at your phone. Sí, es lo que hace todo el mundo. It's what everybody does. Sí, perfecto. Bien. ¿Otra idea o no? ¿No? Ok. Pero es fácil de usar. It's kind of an easy thing to use, isn't it? Sí, más o menos.
Yeah.
Cuando se acostumbra, when one gets used to it. Cuando se acostumbra, when one gets used to it. I will give you a little practice with that for the week. I'll give you some more practice on pronoun placement. Y gracias. Thank you for asking for that because it's helpful for me to know, hey, I need a little more. Bien, but there'll be different sentences. And again, it'll be set up the same way where you can, you know, hey, in this situation, where does the pronoun go? And you decide, does it go in front? Does it get attached? Is it all together? Mark, I'm going to make sure I put on that preposition thing tagged on to the practice so that you see all of that together, todo junto, everything together. I have a very fun video for you to watch for storytelling this week. It's going to have, I think there are 2 reflexives in this. Okay, I'm forgetting what the other, and this is brand new. This is just out today, but I happened to see it in my feed, and I kind of previewed it before we had class and before they cut off all my power. It's going to use. ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre perder? What's the difference between perder, to lose, and perderse? Perderse is to get lost. Reflexivo. And this will be, this will not be, the impersonal say. This is going to be a true reflexive. Yeah. Perder is to lose, like you lose, hopefully not this. Hopefully you don't, you know, lose your checkbook. Perder is to lose a thing, but perderse is to lose yourself, which means to get lost. And he's going to be talking about getting lost, and he's going to talk about other things too in the town. So it won't totally be all a reflexive thing. He's going to do a description, kind of a tour, but you're going to hear se used as a reflexive. And you're also going to use say, you're going to hear say used as a verb by itself, say with an accent mark. And when you hear say with an accent mark, it's going to mean I know. Oh, I'm going to show you a quick screen. So the reason you're going to watch this video for homework is that we always have to be kind of on the, not on the lookout, but on the listen out for that word say. When you don't see it written down, you have to interpret the context of the meaning. So say might be with a reflexive verb. And so you have to be on the lookout for that. Say might be that impersonal say, saying one does or one does not do something, and say might be this. And it means I know or I know how. So I want you to be on the listen out instead of on the lookout for different uses of say in this one video. And this is, and it was not designed as, I'm going to make this video to make you hear different ways that say is used. It's just like normal, here's a little walking tour kind of a video. So do be on the lookout for that. And 2 pieces of practice. ¿Sí? ¿Está bien? All good?
Está bien.
Sí,
Okay.
está bien.
Bien.
Gracias.
Fantástico. Okay. Muy bien, muy bien. Y nos vemos y cuídense mucho. Take care. Keep that AC on. I see my husband very kindly. He had his meeting from 8 till 9. And so he did AC. I did AC watch when he had meeting. He did AC watch when I had mine. Yay.
Teamwork.
Sí, qué amor. Wow, what love.